Imagine for a moment a canvas so vast it feels like a wall, stretching nearly 4 meters wide and over a meter tall. This is not just a painting, it is a testament, a philosophical will written in oil and pigment. Paul Gauguin, tormented and feverish in Tahiti, poured his entire being into this monumental work in 1897. He called it Where Do We Come From? What Are We? Where Are We Going? The title itself is not a statement, but a profound triple-barreled question aimed directly at the heart of human existence. It's a challenge, a riddle painted on rough, heavy sackcloth, a material chosen out of necessity but one that lends the work an earthy, primal texture. This was to be his final masterpiece, the grand summary of all his thoughts, his struggles, and his artistic explorations before a planned suicide he would ultimately survive. Gauguin didn't just paint a picture, he constructed a world. He intended for it to be read, not merely glanced at. The direction is deliberate, moving from right to left, forcing us to slow down and consider each element with fresh eyes. This is art that demands your time, your patience, and your contemplation. It refuses to offer easy answers. Instead, it pulls you into its vibrant, mysterious landscape, a Tahitian paradise that is both beautiful and unsettling. The sheer scale of the work, measuring approximately 139 centimeters by 375 centimeters, envelops the viewer. To truly understand this work, we must look backward, not just to the lush landscapes of Tahiti but to the hallowed halls of Renaissance Italy. Gauguin, despite his rejection of academic tradition, was deeply knowledgeable about art history. He was fascinated by the grand scale and narrative power of Italian frescoes Giotto fra Angelico. He dreamed of creating something with similar weight and permanence. You can see this influence in the structure of Where Do We Come From? The figures are arranged across the canvas like actors on a stage, their placement deliberate and symbolic saint-sinners. It has that same mural-like quality. But Gauguin was no mere copyist. He took the decorative qualities of fresco and twisted them into something new. His style, synthetism, combining observation of the natural world with the artist's inner feelings and abstract aesthetic concerns. He flattened perspective, abandoning Renaissance three-dimensional illusion. Look at the background, the mountains, the sea, the trees. They don't recede realistically. Instead, they stack up in bold, decorative bands of color. To decipher Gauguin's great riddle, we must follow his instructions and read the canvas from right to left. Our journey begins in the lower right corner with a sleeping infant. This is the Where Do We Come From? The baby represents birth innocence, the beginning of the cycle of life. 3 seated women watch over the child, their poses calm and contemplative. They are the guardians of this new beginning, their presence suggesting a sense of community and care at the dawn of existence. The figures are rendered with a simplicity that gives them a universal quality. They are not specific individuals but archetypes. They represent the eternal mystery of our origins and the vulnerability of new life entering the world. As our eyes move toward the center, we encounter the bustling heart of the painting, the What Are We? This section is teeming with activity, representing the daily life of adulthood. A central figure, deliberately androgynous, reaches up to pick a piece of fruit from a tree. This is a clear allusion to the biblical story of Adam and Eve, a symbol of humanity's awakening, our choices, our engagement with the world. To the left of this figure, 2 people dressed in purple confide in one another. They represent the realm of thought communication. The painting functions as a grand, sweeping allegory of the human condition, kind of like a visual poem that charts our journey through the world. The symbolism here is not subtle. It's bold, direct, and deeply felt. The right-to-left progression is a masterful device, forcing us to experience the stages of life in a continuous flow. We begin with the source, the spring of life represented by the baby. This is the pure, uncorrupted state of being, the question of our origins answered not with a scientific formula, but with the simple, profound image of new life. The figures surrounding the infant are not just babysitters, they're personifications of the community and tradition into which we are all born. The central part of the canvas is like a complex tapestry of human endeavor. The act of picking the fruit is the pivotal moment, the transition from innocence to experience. It really symbolizes our active engagement with life, the choices we make, the knowledge we gain, and the consequences we face. This is humanity in its prime, working, thinking, and relating to one another. Gauguin populates this section with figures in various states of activity and contemplation, suggesting that what are we is not a single state but a dynamic and multifaceted experience. We are creatures who act and creatures who think, beings who seek companionship and beings who need solitude. Where do we come from? First arrived in Paris in 1898, the art world was largely bewildered. It broke all the rules. The crude sackcloth canvas, the flattened perspective, the non-naturalistic colors, the heavy symbolism were a direct assault on the Impressionist focus on fleeting moments of everyday life and the academic traditions that still held sway. Critics were perplexed, and the public was largely indifferent. They saw it as the work of a madman, the incoherent ramblings of an artist who had lost his way in the tropics. They failed to see that Gauguin was not trying to capture what the world looked like, but what it felt like. However, a small circle of avant-garde artists and writers saw something revolutionary in Gauguin's vision. They understood that he had liberated color and form from the duty of realistic representation. This single painting became a foundational text for the major art movements of the early 20th century. The Fauvists, Henri Matisse, were emboldened by Gauguin's audacious use of pure, expressive color. The German Expressionists saw in his work a model for conveying intense psychological and spiritual states. A young Pablo Picasso studied Gauguin's primitive forms and flattened figures. That influence would be crucial in his development of Cubism and the creation of Les Demoiselles d'Avignon. So, why does this painting still matter today, in 2025? It matters because the questions it asks are timeless. In our hyper-connected, fast-paced digital world, at the far left, the older woman bends inward, withdrawn from the vibrant center, her lined face, her clasped hands, life's twilight resignation, the hush after motion. Opposite, the carved idol glows like a quiet beacon, less a god than a presence. Its flattened calm hints at what lies outside time, and we carry those questions forward.